Welcome to The Explainer. Honestly, I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today, because we're about to unpack something that literally has the power to change your life. A precise, chronological blueprint for every single dollar you earn. You know, so many people get paid, and before they even realize what happened, the money has just completely vanished. They feel stuck, working just as hard, but never actually getting ahead. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We are looking at a comprehensive routine that completely re-engineers how you handle your paycheck. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have a step-by-step waterfall system that not only stops your cash from disappearing, but actually builds serious long-term wealth. And the best part? You won't have to work any harder than you currently do.
Okay, let's dive into this. $10,000. I mean, that is a massive reality check, right? Think about your typical daily routine for a second. If you spend $5 on a morning coffee on your way to work, maybe $15 on a nice lunch from a food truck, $4 on overpriced transport, a couple of bucks on a sweet treat, and then you factor in, say, $140 a month on forgotten or unwanted subscriptions, that is the equivalent of secretly bleeding $10,000 every single year right out of your pocket. It's basically death by 1,000 cuts. These little leaks in your spending are silently robbing you of your financial freedom. To stop this massive leak, we have to establish a completely new routine.
So, that brings us right to step one. Define your financial baseline.
This right here is the absolute foundation of the whole shebang. Before you can even think about investing or building a safety net, you've got to actively and ruthlessly separate your true wants from your absolute bare-bones needs. To do this, I want you to literally grab a pen, a piece of paper, and your last 6 months of bank statements. Draw a line straight down the middle of the page. On the left side, put your needs. These are the things you physically cannot survive without. We're talking rent, basic utilities, essential insurance. If you can survive without it, it absolutely does not belong in this column. On the right side, put your wants. This is the fun stuff, you know? Nights out, restaurants, bowling, golf, those daily coffees. You must physically separate your actual survival needs from those little daily pleasures to truly see where your money is flowing.
Now here's where it gets real. The ratio we're aiming for is crucial. Once you add up that left column, your true needs, the goal is to get that number down to just 25% of your total income. Now, hold on, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Hearing some boomer millionaire tell you to keep your living expenses to 25% might sound completely impossible, especially right now with rent prices being what they are. And yeah, it is tough, but treat this 25% rule as a target to relentlessly work towards. If you can't cut your expenses any further, maybe by getting roommates or moving closer to work, then you just have to increase your income. Getting a promotion or starting a side hustle is absolutely crucial here. Because remember, your earning potential is always infinitely higher than your saving potential. Keep your wants at or below 25%, leaving a massive 50% left over to start building your future.
All right, moving right along to step 2, build a cash safety net. Once you've got that baseline locked in, it's time to direct that leftover cash. The first 20% of your remaining paycheck needs to go straight into a high-interest savings account. But listen, there are strict rules for this safety net. First off, it must be in a completely different bank from your everyday checking account. Why? Because if it's sitting right next to your spending money, the temptation to just dip into it for a weekend trip is way too high. Second, aim for an account yielding 4% interest or higher, but make sure the money isn't locked away. It needs to be liquid. You're targeting 3 to 6 months of that bare minimum baseline figure we just calculated. And why is this so vital? Well, to put it in perspective, right now, 1 in 5 Americans have zero emergency fund. 9. That means one single emergency, like a broken transmission or a surprise medical bill, forces them into crippling debt. This safety net is for serious emergencies only, keeping you safely out of that debt trap.
Which leads us to step 3, crush high-interest debt.
So the crucial point is, once your safety net is fully funded to that 3 to 6 month mark, you unlock the next level of the waterfall. And this is huge, because paying off debt is literally the only mathematically guaranteed return on investment you will ever get in your lifetime. The source material paints a wonderfully vivid picture here. It says carrying high-interest debt is like knowingly having a parasite inside their body sucking away all the nutrients. I mean, think about it. Why would you ever bother investing in the stock market hoping for an 8 to 10% return when you have a 20% or 25% credit card debt constantly eating away at your wealth every single day? It makes absolutely zero financial sense. A doctor's first priority is getting rid of the parasite, right? Well, your first financial priority is killing that high-interest debt. You take 30% of your paycheck and you attack it.
Let's actually look at a head-to-head math breakdown of the 2 most popular repayment strategies. You've probably heard of the snowball method. That's the psychological approach where you pay off your smallest debts first to get a quick mental win. But look at the numbers. If you use the logical avalanche method, where you mercilessly attack the debt with the highest interest rate first, regardless of the balance, you are debt-free in 21 months and pay just $613 in interest. The snowball method, that takes 2 months longer and costs a staggering $1,700 in interest. The math doesn't lie, folks. Stick to the logical avalanche approach and literally save yourself over $1,000.
Okay, now for the fun part. Step 4. Autopilot tax-advantaged investing.
Let's see how this actually builds into real wealth. You've got your safety net, you've got zero high-interest debt. Now 35% to 40% of your excess cash gets put to work. This is the autopilot phase. Think about it. Every time you buy something, you pay sales tax. Every year you own a home, you pay property tax. And usually, when you make a profit on an investment, you get hit with capital gains tax. But this is about legally avoiding that capital gains tax entirely. To do this, you just need the right vehicle. If you're in the UK, you're looking to open a stocks and shares ISA. If you're in the US, the equivalent is the Roth IRA. These are the absolute, crucial, foundational accounts you need to ensure that your historical 8% to 10% average annual market returns remain completely tax-free. When you use these accounts, the government simply cannot touch your investment growth.
And the beauty of this is just how completely hands-off it can be. The source material shares this fantastic little anecdote about a son who set up an experiment. He decided to invest just £5 a day, literally the exact cost of his daily coffee, into the S&P 500. He set it up and then he completely forgot about it, just went on with his life. Well, when he checked it almost exactly a year later, his daily coffee money had grown to over £1,700. That resulted in a phenomenal 13.68% return on investment. It was a completely effortless, really lovely surprise.
You can actually set up this exact same frictionless sequence yourself in 3 super simple steps. Step 1, open that tax-free account, your ISA or Roth IRA. Step 2, search for a low-cost S&P 500 accumulation fund. Now, the key word here is accumulation, because an accumulation fund automatically takes any dividends those companies pay you and instantly reinvests them back into buying more stock. It completely supercharges your compound interest. Step 3, turn on auto-invest. Remove the friction. Get the money away from yourself automatically every payday so you don't even notice it's gone.
When you automate this, the micro truly becomes the macro. The math over time is simply staggering. To put it in perspective, if you consistently auto-invest just $250 a month into that tax-free account, assuming a historical 8% average annual return, you are looking at $1.3 million over 45 years, completely tax-free. No way, right? It's a slow, steady path for sure, but historically, it is a remarkably successful strategy for building guaranteed wealth.
And finally, step 5, high-risk wealth plays. But hey, what if you don't want to wait 45 years? I totally get it. That brings us to the final tier of our paycheck waterfall. This step is specifically designed for those who want to jump into the fast lane and reach millionaire status significantly quicker. But remember, with the fast lane comes turbulence. In this final bucket, you allocate 5% to 10% of your remaining money towards starting a side hustle or a business. Why such a small amount? Because severely limiting your startup funds actually forces you to be highly creative. It forces you to find clever gaps in the market that people with massive budgets simply overlook. Then, the final 5% is allocated to the riskiest investment of all, cryptocurrency, specifically major ones like Bitcoin or Ethereum. This is purely a high-risk, high-reward play. It has massive long-term potential, but as the source strongly warns, you have to be completely okay with the reality that this 5% could go straight to zero at any point.
So we've covered the complete waterfall, from ruthlessly defining your baseline and building a bulletproof safety net, to crushing the parasite of high-interest debt, automating your tax-free investments, and finally strategically playing in the fast lane. The blueprint is literally right in front of you. So I just have to ask, are you ready to stop your paycheck from mysteriously disappearing month after month and start executing your own automated wealth routine today? The choice and your financial future is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Get out there, set up those accounts, and I'll see you next time.